Coming up on TekThing, new studio tour. Is it worth paying extra for 4K? And is 4K Netflix really 4K? Is that a data cap or a threshold? And a pre-built PC warning. All coming up on TekThing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you each and every week. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing. Thanks.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
And lots of rain.
We do have a lot of rain lately.
Note to self, do not leave a plastic storage box with several hundred CDs inside it next to the garage before you get 2 inches of rain.
Oh.
Just saying. A
Yeah.
lot of artwork, a lot of enclosures are no longer...
Oh, no.
It's okay.
Well, maybe we should do a proper CD storage episode or something.
Well, they were properly stored until I left them outside in the rain. Look, a tech question.
All right. We got a tweet from Michael, a.k.a. @CMManly52, who tweets, @PatrickNorton, @Snubs, is Netflix really worth the added $2 a month more for 4K? Am I really getting 4K content, or are they compressing the heck out of it? Thanks, from Michael. So first thought, 4K on Netflix will be $3 starting in April. So they are upping those prices. I got the email too, which totally stinks. 1080p HD plans will be $10.99 and let you watch on 2 screens at a time, which is great, especially if you have a husband and yourself that like to watch a lot of Netflix like I do. And you can download videos on up to 2 different phones or tablets, which is also awesome for travel. Ultra HD plans are going to be $13.99 and will let you stream HD and Ultra HD on up to 4 screens at a time. So great for families, and you can download to 4 phones or tablets. Now, depending on how you are looking at that, that's either a 27% increase or a cheap beer a month increase.
Yeah. A third of a movie
ticket. I like my cheap beer.
Yeah.
A third of a movie ticket, exactly.
So a friend of mine used to rate every purchase. How many beers would this thing cost? And new tires for the car were this many beers. So the big question might be, are you a big fan of Netflix original series? Like, for example, Jessica Jones. Because if you look at this page with the drop-down menu that won't stop dropping down, there we go. If you take a look at this page, right, it's a list of 4K, HDR, Ultra HD, Netflix on hd-report.com. And so this is Netflix original series. So there are a lot of Netflix original series in 4K. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, lots.
I didn't realize
Marco
they had so many.
Oh yeah, there are many of them. Now notice how that took a long time. There's Netflix original films. Yeah. And then we're going to have this really short Netflix comedy and specials. This is all Netflix content. Oh, other series. This includes movies. And so we got Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, Planet Earth 2.
Okay.
And
these are all still 4K.
Wait, that's it.
Oh, that's it.
So if you're not a big fan of Netflix original series, you may not find a lot of benefit out of this, right?
Gotcha.
There are not a lot of feature movies in 4K on Netflix. We'll get back to content in a second. Let's talk about what you need to actually see 4K or 4K HDR on Netflix. First up, you need the bandwidth, right? So whether or not you're talking about Apple or Netflix, they want you to get at least 25 megabits per second, a steady 25 megabits per second for 4K content.
So technically, we would be good.
We would be good.
Because we're getting 100.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Robert Heron, avxl.com, fired up his Roku and found that 4K Netflix on the Roku Ultra never went above 15.26 megabits with any content, which is interesting because originally Netflix said you were going to need 15 megabits to stream 4K.
Yeah.
And then later on they revised that to 25 megabits per second. He goes and he finds nothing gets above like 15.25 megabits. So Robert's theory is that they probably saved 25 megabits just to eliminate tech calls.
Yeah, most likely.
Amazon wants you to be able to stream at 15 megabits per second for 4K. Vudu says their minimum requirement is 11 megabits per second. I'm guessing they'll stream it at a higher speed if they can.
Right.
So for comparison, right, because part of that $3 expense, Netflix is looking for 5 megabits per second for 1080p video.
Wow.
Right, so you
just
go from
5.
like, I mean like, 0.5 megabits to 1.5 megabits to 3 megabits for SD, 5 megabits for HD, which starts at like 720p, and then 25 megabits per second for Ultra HD.
And remember, I believe you can edit that so that you stick with a certain customization if you don't want to go over a certain amount of like bandwidth. If Comcast limits you or something like that, then you can cut it off so you don't go out above a certain amount of bandwidth.
Yeah, and I can see where with more and more homes actually having 4K TVs, Netflix is like, oh, this is getting expensive. Speaking of TVs, you need one that supports 4K Netflix and better yet Dolby Vision or HDR10 in Netflix. If your TV doesn't have Netflix built in, you're going to need to buy a set-top box with 4K HDR support for your 4K TV. Remember, like if you put 4K into 1080p televisions, you get 1080p.
Yeah.
You laugh, but having actually fixed an early Blu-ray player that was connected via an S-video output, why there was an S-video output on a Blu-ray player, I don't know, but I'm just saying, just in case you see it.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. I said to talk more content. If you want 4K feature movies, looking at iTunes or Vudu might be a better place to go. For example, this is Vudu. HDX is their sort of 60 frames per second 1080p, so that's not really 4K. It's funny, I've searched for 4K, but they throw up all the HDX stuff. But when you look at this, so this is Blade Runner 2049. Eventually that'll actually show up here. Oh, it tried to play the video. I don't want your terrible flash video. I just want to see. So this is Blade Runner 2049. It's crazy, right? So to buy the UHD version of that is going to be, it's like a $6 rental, and it's $20 to buy the UHD, which is 2/3 the cost of a UHD Blu-ray. That's going to have considerably better quality video.
Okay.
So in case you didn't know, an Ultra HD Blu-ray can deliver like 82 to 128 megabits per second maxed out. Not that they always do. So in that sense, yes, all of the streaming services are compressing the hell out of 4K. So if you're the kind of person that notices detail and compression artifacts, I think of like the fur on Rocket and Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's just this amazing, it's this incredible piece of CG. Yeah. Or if you every time you see an explosion in 1080p on your favorite streaming service, you don't notice the explosion so much as the fact that it looks 8-bit and blocky. Yeah. If that kind of drives you nuts. UHD Blu-rays are going to stomp on those streaming services. The difference is going to be more noticeable in dark scenes and explosions than basic outdoor low motion shots, or if you're talking about like, it's a rom-com and it's a lot of people talking in a room and then looking back at the screen and making facial expressions. So me personally, I haven't gone 4K yet, but I roll Blu-ray whenever I can because I like to have all the quality and I like to have it available. I expect eventually someday to go UHD Blu-ray in the distant future, way, way out there when I upgrade my projector. That said, on convenience alone, I'd probably pay the extra $3 a month for Netflix, just as long as I never have to watch Iron Fist again.
That's a good point.
My least favorite, I don't know if it's
I don't have a 4K TV, so there's really no reason for me to upgrade until I actually get a 4K TV. My Roku can do 4K at this moment, but there would be no point. So do make sure that you have all the hardware that is required and make sure that you can, do the megabits per second that you need to do. Otherwise, it would be pointless even if you were considering it.
4K screen, 4K player with Netflix, 4K AVR if you have an AVR and surround sound, and 25 megabits per second for Netflix. And by the way, UHD Blu-ray, maybe a year old. This whole UHD, HDR thing, super young. There's like 200 titles total if I'm doing the math right. Wow. Not a lot out there yet.
Let us know what questions you have about video streaming from all the different providers out there, not just Netflix. We would love to answer those for you on the show. You can email ask@TekThing.com or @TekThing on Twitter. We're officially in our new studio! Woohoo!
We have been for a few weeks.
It's true!
What happened?
So we should probably explain what happened. Well, we have been recording for the past 2 years in the Hack 5 warehouse studio, which was where Hack 5 used to be. And then in February, Hack 5 started this huge move to a new office space down in Oakland, where we built this brand new studio that you see behind us, and the set for Hack 5 and TekThing, as well as the set for ThreatWire and the set for future shows that we're going to be doing on the Hack 5 channel. So first off, huge thank you. Pony stalls?
Yeah.
That's just for Seb, right?
Well, for Sebastian's pony. Yes.
Sebastian's pony.
All the ponies.
So, I also wanted to mention a huge shout out to Hack 5 for letting us film in this awesome studio. I think that's super exciting that we're able to do that. And it's a great studio. And I was able to rebuild the whole thing with help from Patrick, Darren, and Perrin.
Big shout out to Darren and Perrin who got all the lights hung. And I think Jay also did a bunch of the truss.
Yes.
I am now own more furniture blankets than any person in the history of Oakland.
I'm officially exhausted because, like, I was seriously taking naps after work because it's so exhausting. It's like physically exhausting to be setting up all this stuff. And it's emotionally exhausting too because you're trying to remember where everything plugs in, and that's really hard. Luckily, I labeled a lot of things. But without further ado, I want to show you a time-lapse video of the build. Did you like my time lapse?
Everybody loves a time lapse.
I do too. I freaking love time lapses. So I filmed that on my GoPro. It was super, super fun. So with the build mostly complete, today I wanted to give y'all an update on some of the new designs that we are using. We've got a new system for hanging lights. This thing behind us, as you can see behind Patrick and I, is called a trussing system that everything is mounted to.
A lighting truss.
Yeah, it's that silver thing right up there that you can hopefully see right above our TV. And it's made out of aluminum. So we found this actually over at trussgenius.com. We paid for this entire thing that you can see on my computer screen over here, and set up all the lighting and set up like the threat wire thing on this trussing system. So basically you can set one of these up in any studio and have anything built onto it.
Like you can set one up in your kitchen and hang pots off of it.
You can climb on one of these because they will hold so much weight. Should you climb on it? Probably not, but you can, and it's kind of cool.
So we now have even more lights suspended over our heads.
We do.
When the earthquake hits, because eventually the earthquake will hit.
Well, luckily that won't be a problem. So from trussgenius.com as well as cabletethers.com or cabletether.com, big thanks to cabletether.com for sending these out, by the way. You can basically set these up so that you clamp down these little metal pieces on each end and things won't walk away from you because they'll be tied down on each end. Or you can tie them at the top of a trussing, for example, so that if there is an earthquake and something falls, it's not going to fall on your head, it will just fall and hang there instead of breaking on the floor, which will not only save us money in health insurance, but it will also save us from, having to purchase new lights. So I love these things. They're so cool. And I'm excited to take these to the conventions too. So our products don't walk away.
Because I actually saw a light once that fell down
and
then swang on the cable and slammed into a wall like that. So it may not save the equipment, but it will keep it off of our skulls.
It'll save our heads.
What's the lighting you guys installed in here?
So we purchased a couple of different LED panel lights, and I'll show you some close-ups of those. We got them from Newer and Flowlight. So Flowlight are the more expensive brand, and Newer are basically the same thing, but less cost with those. And basically we have a couple of different panel lights that we installed for these. We have backlighting, and then we have the forward-facing lights for our faces. We are still figuring out the lighting, so there is a lot going into that, and we will be changing it as the time comes. So keep an eye out and let us know, give us some feedback on what you are seeing. And also, I wanted to mention cabling and organization and Velcro. OMG. Velcro is my favorite thing in the world, and it looks amazing in here. Everything has been organized, everything has been Velcroed down and labeled, and it looks so beautiful.
We've told you about these before. They sell 50 packs of Velcro brand Velcro cable ties.
They're awesome.
Just about every big box hardware store.
Amazon.
Yeah, they are awesome.
They're the best.
You can color code them too.
Yes, you can. They sell them in different colors.
We
got gray ones to match the trussing. It looks awesome. And we also have brick, as you can see here. So this is our beautiful brick behind me. Well, for now. People keep on saying that they really like the brick, so I'm wondering if we should keep it.
Keep it simple.
I mean, it's cool.
Look, it's built already.
I know. My original plan was to purchase a backdrop for TekThing and then use the brick background for Hack 5. We've been using a brick background for Hack 5 since the early days. But there's still a few decisions to make as far as the background goes, so let me know your feedback as well on that.
Do you know what the original background for Tekzilla was?
Brick. Yeah, y'all stole it from Hack 5. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Mm-hmm. You and Jessica?
Yeah.
I
Reaching
remember.
deep in the memory bank.
Yeah.
Hey, Jess.
So what is to come? Set decor, but not too much. You can't have too much on a set or else it will look crazy busy. Perfect the lighting, obviously, and the audio as well. So we still want to install some sound dampening panels around the room to help with the echo. Yes, and the ceiling. And there is also a few networking issues so that everything from our recorder to our teleprompter to our editing rig are all on the same network, which will make our flow as far as editing everything a lot simpler and much easier for recording as well.
Nothing says awesome like finding out 2 of the Ethernet jacks or 2 of the most important Ethernet jacks in a new facility have been cut. The cables are being pulled.
That was fun, really fun.
I didn't spend 6 hours diagnosing a cable problem.
So without further ado, I wanted to mention as well, you can go over to hack5.org/Oakland because we are having a party on March 29th if you are going to be in the Bay Area. Details are over at hak5.org/Oakland. That's OAKLAND. We'll put that link below. But if you're in the area, we would love to invite you to join us on a little office warming party. And super excited about that. I think we know where it's going to be, but I'm not going to announce quite yet until we actually have the final information from the place.
If you're around on the 29th,
yes,
come join.
Yes, we would love to have you here and let us know, give us feedback on the studio. We're always looking for new design ideas and feedback as far as what it sounds like in the lighting.
Let's build a complete functioning ramen shop and we can shoot at the table while eating ramen.
And we're done.
Tech ramen. Got a question? Curious to see us review something on TekThing? Got a tip or an idea you want to share with the whole audience? Fire them out to ask@tekthing.com. Please, you can tweet at TekThing, at Snubs, or at Patrick Norton. And hey, If you want to be part of the crew that makes TekThing possible, please contribute to the show at patreon.com/TekThing. Big shout out to our patrons. You make TekThing possible. Thank you. Patreon.com/TekThing.
We got a slew of responses to the unlimited data segment last week. So let's go ahead and start with Joe, who writes, "Hi, I wanted to clarify a couple of points, mainly for T-Mobile. Their 50 gig cap is not a cap, it's a threshold, meaning if you're on a congested sector of a tower and you have crossed that threshold, your data will have a lower priority. If, however, you are on a clear sector or tower, you will experience no slowdowns. You could go an entire month and not hit any kind of slow speeds and use 150 gigs at full speed. Lastly, the 50 gig threshold is per line, not per account, as stated in the scenario if Patrick were to get 4 lines. I frequent the T-Mobile subreddit, which has verified T-Mobile employees, even Neville Ray, the CTO, and they clear up things like this regularly. As always, I thoroughly enjoyed the show," from Joe. Thank you so much, Joe.
It's amazing.
Very good information there.
What shows up or who shows up on Reddit.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of getting all of the data in a single month, Sage emailed, "Sprint has upped their coverage in the last few years. I drive truck, and any place you would call a city has coverage, mostly LTE. Most towns have at least 3G, and you really have to be way out to get zero data. The unlimited states could be throttled, not will be. I usually hit around 100 gigs. Haven't noticed any throttling. Not sure if I could use that much if it were throttled." Now, Sage attached last month's graph showing no apparent throttling. Take a look at that. That's like 125 gigabytes of data in a single month.
Gosh, that's crazy. Although it sounds like it works kind of like T-Mobile does.
Yeah.
Now, I think that city here is the special word in this case. Like my hometown, it was a small place with 5,000 residents, which my mom still lives there. So I still visit. And they have basically no Sprint coverage. But Verizon and T-Mobile both work there as well. So, for example, if you take a look at the map that Patrick has shown up, maybe Sprint just lit up the town in the past few months, but as of last summer, like my brother, he had a Sprint phone. He's recently moved to Verizon because he was so annoyed with this, but he had no coverage, even though the map shows full 3G and 4G coverage. So it is spotty. You can get it like near the highway where my mom lives, but if you're in my mom's house or like in that neighborhood, there's no coverage whatsoever.
I spent like 3 months on Verizon. My block in the outer Sunset could not hold a signal.
In San Francisco?
In San Francisco.
Wow.
And I wasn't in one of the troublesome sections of San Francisco. I was out in the big flat section down near the ocean, which in theory, and they were like, "We're sorry."
You should get everybody's towers.
Well, I ended up having to pay my way out of the contract because I couldn't actually use my phone at home, and it was past the 15 days because I couldn't believe that I was in the middle of this giant zone of coverage. But literally, if I walked a block that way, a block that way, a block that way, a block that way, coverage.
You're fine. Yeah,
the
it happens.
Is not the coverage.
And we also got an email from Gary who said, "Hi team, just a heads up, you are not as limited as you may think in regards to what phones you can use regarding Google Fi. I tested my old iPhone 7 Plus on Fi and it worked fine. All I had to do was put my SIM card in," from Gary. So that's a great point, Gary. Not completely accurate. I did this with my OnePlus 5 and the 5T that I have reviewed for TekThing, and here's the catch. If you go over to Android Authority, they have an excellent write-up about just this topic. PSA, Project Fi works in any phone mostly. And if I scroll down, so I'm going to quote this, they basically say, quote, "The first of these is the cross-network and Wi-Fi switching, which means that when using a Google-branded handset, the phone will automatically roam between registered Wi-Fi networks and the T-Mobile, US Cellular, and Sprint's cell networks, because it's an MVNO, to always have the best coverage. If you use a non-Google device, then you don't get this pretty important benefit. The second benefit that you miss is visual voicemail. So this allows you to access and listen to your voicemail messages directly from the phone app without having to dial into your voicemail. This is actually rather convenient and much easier than dialing voicemail, and regular voicemail activation seems to be quite buggy when using a non-Google device. So this is why I still state that Google Fi only works with Google phones, because technically those are the only phones that are supported, and you also need one of those phones to activate the SIM card in the first place, and then you can stick it in another phone. So So if you don't have a Google branded phone, you can't activate that SIM card. Now, another thing to mention is Google Fi has also introduced something called eSIM. And they have a little blog entry over here called, "Look, Ma, no SIM card." So this basically means you would not need a SIM to set up your new phone on Google Fi. Now, if this becomes permanent, it's possible that they will stop selling SIMs entirely and you won't have a way to push your service to a different unlocked phone. And if that's the case, how would you use it on a different phone?
Well, one, you wouldn't, and two...
Jailbreak!
I just have bad flashbacks to iPhone 4S's or iPhone 4s on Verizon that didn't have slim slots because they were CDMA. SIM slots.
And I've
SIM slots is hard to say.
In particular, with my Google Pixel 2 XL, I didn't realize how much I use visual voicemail until I actually paid attention to it. And then I was like, I don't even know what my voicemail number is. Obviously, it's just like a few numbers, but even then, dialing in is not very convenient, and I don't think a lot of people will do it.
Having had AT&T's visual voicemail go down,
I've had that happen too with AT&T.
Sucks.
Yeah. And by the way, regarding my segment, a lot of folks said, like, you forgot Cricket or you forgot this other MVNO that's available in my area. So in the segment, I specifically said major carriers at the beginning of that segment because I was only comparing the 4 major ones in the US plus Google Fi. But thank you, everyone who commented about your own MVNOs, because a lot of those have really awesome plans. And if they are available in your area, it's definitely something to look into. But of course, if I wanted the segment to be like 20 minutes long, I would include those. I didn't want it to be that long.
60 minutes long.
Right.
Oh my goodness. There are a lot of MVNOs.
There are a ton. So let us know, of course, with the plans that your MVNO has, or if you have any other updates as far as the information about unlimited plans that are currently available. We would love to know. Feel free to comment below, or you can tweet at TekThing.
So last week we had a question about a teenager wanting to build the first PC, and of course the two of us were like, yes!
Build all the things!
Build all the things! And we got a great follow-up email from Ant who sent this out to ask@tekthing.com. Hey there, team. Hope y'all are doing well. I finally got my new rig via CyberPower PC, as it saved me several $100s to buy a rig rather than buying each piece myself. All went well except for 2 or 3 things. The case. I love my case, but I didn't realize I couldn't install an optical drive or internal card reader. Partly my fault for not paying attention, partially CyberPower PC's fault for not warning me about the case limitations. The quote internal card reader I received was an external USB one. Fortunately, I like to use it for on the go, so I didn't return it. It's really tiny and convenient. The GPU, an MSI GTX 1060 6GB, was a nice one, but it didn't play well with my motherboard. It wouldn't stay seated securely, which led to lots of Windows 10 freezing. My old GTX 770 fits just fine and is currently in use. I have RMA'd the GPU with hopes of another version fitting better. I've requested a Gigabyte or EVGA version. Using a service like this is really convenient and less expensive, but consumers should be mindful of little things like this happening. Thought I'd share. Thanks, congrats on the new studio, continued success to the both of you. RAP2 Ant Thony.
Thank you, Ant. That's awesome. It's good to hear from you, by the way.
This is a solid reminder to A, look closely at what you're buying, and B, remember, when you DIY, you get to choose and pick exactly what you want, except for GPUs right now. Then you get whatever you can find or afford, or you wait.
Or you wait.
And you wait.
Forever.
Until you spring like an angry trap when something you could afford actually shows up.
Yeah, that's basically what I did.
Have you installed that GPU yet?
Not yet. I want to do a build video with it.
She hasn't installed it yet.
I know. Well, if y'all are eating right now, just heads up and a disclaimer, you might want to pause the video until later, maybe pick it up a little later, or just put down your food. Because that said, remember, once in a while, put down your phone or your food, step away from the screen, close your laptop, and do something analog like Brandon, who writes, "Zombie Run 5K, the proceeds go to charity, and you have runners who run from the zombie horde. My friend Sunny, hi Sunny, and I were zombies." I love this. It's awesome.
1, ew. 2, love the Umbrella Corporation detail on the car.
Oh, so good. Yeah. So good. Thank you so much.
If you have an analog activity you want to share, please email ask@tekthing.com and put analog in the subject line so we can find it and feature you and your analog activity in a future show.
And I think that's about it for this episode.
We could find some questions on Twitter. We're
done. Next week.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Totally sure?
I'm Shannon Morris.
I'm Patrick Norton. We'll see you next week on TekThing. I bet if we pull, here, I'll pull up TweetDeck right now.
No, just leave it for next week. We have a lot of work to do.
What if the best question ever is waiting for us and it's time sensitive?
It will still be there next week. We're done recording.
That's definitely, nope.
We're done recording.
Hi, Whitson. Whitson uses unprotected discs.
You know, I have never
RAID.
been in a zombie horde, but I kind of want to.
There used to be a bar crawl in Alameda that was like, wait, let me see if I can find it.
What? I just heard somebody say bar crawl and zombies.
Oh, there it is, the Alameda Pub Crawl, home of the zombie crawl and superhero. There's a superhero crawl? My hometown just gets cooler every week.
So cool.
Someday this page will open.
Hey, thank you everybody again. Thank you especially to our Patreon patrons for helping support us for such a long time and helping support us through this studio rebuild. I know it's been crazy hectic and I really appreciate that you're all sticking with us.
You feed my kids. I appreciate that.
We love y'all.